Okay, so recording number 2. And okay, so like I said in my last video, guys, and you guys can see it on the screen, correct? Okay, so I showed you how to do pinch pots in the last video and last demonstration. So you should have 2 pinch pots that are pretty equal. Mine, one of them is larger than the other one, but that's gonna be okay, all right? So you're gonna pinch these out, and then I'm gonna show you how to score and slip. Now scoring, you can use a tool like this, or you can use your needle tool, which that's this tool. So either or. Scoring is where you take the abrasive or anabrasive or a pointy tool and you literally scratch up the surface of the clay. And whenever you attach clay forms together, you need to score both pieces that are going together. So what I'm gonna do is this is scoring. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Okay, so notice that I'm kind of going in different directions as I do this, and I'm carving fairly deep, okay? So this is scoring. And because I'm gonna be putting 2 of these pinch pots together to make a sphere, I'm going to score each part that I'm going to attach to each other. Okay, so I've got them scored, and then now I need to slip them. I just went and grabbed one of our slip bottles that were over there, and you guys have your own little containers, and you can use your fingers to put it on there, or brushes, or however you want to apply the slip. I'm gonna try and use this lid without getting things real messy here. So let me test it, there we go. Okay, you guys could even do it this way too if you want at one point. So I'm putting slip on each part that I'm going to attach together. And a good practice is if you're able to slip it and then let it sit for a while, just a little bit to where it kind of starts hardening up. But most of the time we don't have time for that in here. We just got to get it going. Okay, so now that I have these 2 pieces scored and slipped, I'm gonna smush them together, okay? And when I smush them together, I kind of wiggle them together until they kind of lock into each other a little bit. And there's the kind of first stage on that. So my next step is to kind of clean the slip mess that I made. So I'm just gonna wipe off the slip and I'm gonna put it back in my little bottle here. You guys can put it back in your container. Okay. Okay. So here it is, kind of real wonky sphere right now. Now the problem that I'm encountering with mine in particular is one of my pinch pots is leather hard, whereas the other one's really, really soft. So, because I just pinched it like a little while ago. So I have to work through smoothing out. So what I'm gonna do is I clean that slip off here. And then I'm just gonna start kind of gently using my thumbs or fingers and pushing the clay down onto the other pinch pot. So you guys see that? How that's starting to kind of create a seamless part there. Now it's gonna look wonky. So the bummer thing about clay is in its very beginning stages, boy, does it look bad. And it will look bad until you have it almost finished. So that's the bummer part in clay. See, look at that. Whew, yeah, okay? But that's okay because I'm the master of this clay and I can mold it however I want. Okay, so I've got them attached together. I have kind of pushed the wet clay into the other, so they're attached. Like if I'm kind of pulling them, they're not really coming apart, but I don't want these ridges and stuff in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a connection coil. And a connection coil is where I'm gonna roll out some clay into a coil. I'm gonna place it on my connection points, and then it creates the illusion that it's all one piece. So anytime that you guys build things together, anywhere, at any point that you have a connection like we just created, you're gonna put in a coil to strengthen that connection point and for aesthetics, to make it look nice and clean. Okay, so I'm rolling this coil out, and then I'm just gonna lay it. You can use slip or not. When I do connection coils like this, I don't use slip.
Where's your paper cutter?
Right behind you. I changed it. Sorry. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is that same technique that I just used a second ago, where I'm smoothing clay down into itself. I'm gonna do that for both sides. Okay, and this is what you guys could work on today, is working on this sphere. This will be good. You'll hear Miss Duncan on the video if you guys need to refer back to that. Yeah, we're nice and quiet. Where's the paper cutter? It'll be the inside joke. Okay, so remember how I said clay looks real bad at the beginning?
Yes.
I'm not a liar, am I? It does not look great, but that's okay, because that's just how clay is. It'll look real bad at the beginning, and then you just kind of have to let it go through its drying stages where you can start getting it shaped up, especially if your clay is at two different hardness levels like mine is, one side being really wet and the other side being leather hard. Okay, so I'm just kind of working through here, getting this shaped up. And this is where this tool could come into play. This is called a metal scraper, and there's a ton of them on the cart, okay? They're kind of difficult to use when your clay is really wet. They work really well whenever it's leather hard. So you can take this scraper and you can even bend it and flex it in your hand. What's up, Greg? Do you? What's happening?
This is going inside and I can't take this off.
It's okay. So what you'll do is, you know how we did that connection coil?
Yeah.
It'll fill in that space. Yeah, so that's how you can fix that up. Good question. Okay, so then I can use this scraper. Yes, slip on both. So then I can use this scraper to kind of help me mold and shape this into a perfect sphere. So on like my leather hard side, I'm having to kind of scrape that off. On the wet clay side, I can just kind of mold it. So you guys, what your goal is going to be for your pinch pot today is to basically just get it together, get that connection point on there, try to get it into a sphere as much as you can, but you're going to notice that you're going to push on one side of that wet clay and it's going to make a dent like in the other side because it's still so wet. And that's how clay works. So you just try to get it as close to a sphere as you can, and then you're just gonna let it rest, okay? So when you get to a point where you're just gonna let it rest, kind of let it start going to the leather hard part, you need to poke a hole in it like this, boop, and then you'll set it off to the side. Can anyone guess why I poked a hole in there, Greg?
To let the pressure out.
To let the pressure out, exactly. So we're making a hollow form. I'll put back up here. We're making a hollow form. As clay dries out, it starts to shrink. When you trap air in there, the air pressure starts increasing as it shrinks, and then it would pop or split, or it's okay. Just build up, like your ridge you got there, you can just build up with your coils and then smooth it down, okay? So again, guys, remember this sphere has to be within 2.5 to 3.5 inches. So you should probably check on your size now before you get too far. It looks fairly large. I would maybe get a ruler and check it out. Okay? 2.5 to 3.5. You will miss points if you are outside of the size limit. Well, it depends. It depends on how far.
Say, I was close.
Okay, so you better check it. You better check it. All straight across. Straight across.
2 to 3.
2.5 to 3.5. Yeah, so you might want to think about, so you can, hey, Carson, are you listening? You can cut it in half, and then you can slice off some of the, like a ring around. So look up here. So you can cut it in half, and then when you have both your pinch pots, you can cut off a section and a section off the pinch pots and then put it back together. Okay, I gave you the sheet and I told you about your requirements before you started putting it together. Okay? All right, so does anyone have any questions on how to do the sphere method?
What's the coil part again?
The coil part, where you roll out a real small coil and you put it along your connection point that you made. Yeah, so you want to put a coil in, and I'm going to show you how to make coils here in a second. Okay, what's up, Greg?
Is it 3.5 or 30?
Look on your sheet.
Well, it says 3.5.
It says, is it 2.5 to 3.5? Okay, yeah, you can go all the way to 3.5 inches. You can go all the way to 3.5, okay? All right, guys, your next method that I'm going to show you is how to create a cylinder, okay, and how to use coil building. So the first thing that you have to start with for your cylinder is you do have to cut out a base. Now, what's your requirements on the cylinder? 2.5 by 3.5 wide. Okay, so I think I'm within that. I might be on the little small, no. So I think I'm within that range, okay? Now I'm going to show you guys how I roll out coils. And the best way to coil build is to make your coils thicker rather than thinner, okay? Because then you won't have to make as many, because you'll hit your height requirement faster, and I'll show you. Okay, so I'll get a lump of clay, and I kind of start it in my hands first, make a little nugget like that, and then to finish out rolling, I'll put it down on the table, and I'm letting the coil roll from the base of my hand here all the way to my fingertips. And as I roll, I start kind of moving my hand back and forth to make sure that it's even. Okay, so I'm just kind of using my whole hand, and now I'm slowly moving it back and forth to the right and to the left. Okay, and that's how you effectively, from this point on, you guys just can work on your sphere, and you're just kind of listening and watching for these next steps, okay? All right, so I went ahead, before you guys got in here, I went ahead and rolled myself out some coils. So you want to try and aim for like this thickness, so you're not making a ton of little tiny ones that's going to take you forever. Okay, so I've got my base here, and I'm going to start building up my coils. So what's the first thing when I attach that I need to do when I'm going to attach? Greg got it right. We're going to score. So I'm going to score around the base here because I still need to make a hollow form. So I want the coils to be just on the outside. Okay, go in different directions for that. And then what's the next thing that I do after I score? Slip. Good job, Riley. So I'm going to put the slip there. Then I'm also going to score I kind of want to check this before I made it almost like perfect. Okay, so this is me kind of checking to make sure that my coil's long enough before I score it and before I start trying to attach it, and I got it pretty darn close. So now I'm gonna score the coil. And because I want my sides to go straight up and down, I'm gonna put it just straight on the base. I don't wanna put it on towards the outside or towards the inside. I just wanna put it straight on there. Okay? Gonna slip the coil a little bit. You guys will notice that a little bit of slip goes a long way. And then I'm going to put it on the base just like that. And I'll clean this up as I go, okay? So I'm gonna kind of clean the slip a little bit. And now I'm on to my next coil. So if I'm gonna attach another thing, what's the next thing I need to do? Score and slip. You guys are good. Okay, so coil building is where you're layering coils on top of each other to achieve height. Okay? And you'll just end up smoothing that out a lot. I just put it on there. I just smoothed it. All right, so I'm getting both of my coils scored here. Do I have what? Oh, from last year? No, but you can just go on YouTube, and I'm sure there's going to be one there for you. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I probably should have done a demo with you. I could do a throwing demo tomorrow. Okay, so scored and slipped. Now I'm gonna put this coil on top, and I'm gonna make sure that my connection point is in another spot than where I put the other one. And this one's too long. Okay. All right, coil number 2 is on there. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I'm only going to put one more coil on, and then I'm going to show you guys how to smooth, and then I'm going to show you how to attach slab-wise, and I might be able to do like a really quick wheel demo, maybe. I don't know. It kind of depends on... I only got like 15 minutes before the end of class, so might not have enough time for that. Okay, so scoring and slipping again. This is going to be my last coil that I'm going to put on there. And shabam. That one was a little too small. Okay. Okay, so now you guys, if I turn it on its side, you can see how like my coils are stacking up. And so you'll want to, when you coil build, when you make your cylinder, you want them to be even. So you want them to stack one right on top of each other. And you will want to do about 3 or 4 coils at a time and then smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my metal scraper for this one instead of using my fingers. And I'm going to smooth from the top down. Okay, so top down, and the reason why I do that is because I want to press the top clay down into itself. If I go the opposite way, I'll be ripping my coils apart from each other. Okay, so I'm going to brace it on the inside, and then I'm just going to use my metal scraper here to just start smoothing that clay out. And you'll also want to smooth on the inside as well. That's going to be a little more challenging. Okay, so again, clay looks real messy when you first start. Looks really bad. You just got to keep working through it. Okay. I'm also trying to go a little faster than I normally would. I'm going to clean up the bottom here a little bit. Get some of that extra clay off so I can make sure that my cylinder is gonna sit straight when I'm done. Okay. I've got a lot of slip here on the inside, which is making everything really slickery. So I'll probably wait for it to set up and then I'll smooth it out more.
Are we doing that tomorrow?
You'll end up, I'm showing you how to do all the hand building techniques, and then you can kind of pick and choose where, you know, if you want to do slab building tomorrow, you can do that. If you want to do coil building tomorrow, that's fine, whichever you want to do. Okay. Okay, so don't forget, let's get a reminder on it. What's your requirement size on the sphere?
2.5 to 3.5.
2.5 to 3.5. What are your size requirements for your cylinder?
2.5 to 3.5 on the base.
Uh-huh. Feet? Nah, that's a lot. Okay. Is it 2.5 to 3.5 wide or 2 to 3 wide?
2.5 to 3.5.
Okay, 2.5 to 3.5 wide and 5 inches to 6 inches tall. Okay. All right. So last, and I'm just gonna demonstrate with just 3 pieces here. That would be a lot of clay. Okay, guys. So the part of the cube that's going to be your trickiest is making sure that all of your clay squares that you cut out are exactly the same. Why do you think that would be important?
So it's even.
So it's even all the way around, because if you have wonky squares like mine, you're going to have a wonky cube. Now, the best way you can do that is if you get a piece of printer paper and you measure out a perfect square by drawing it out with a ruler, you cut it out, and now you've made yourself a paper template that you can just put on the clay and trace around, and it'll make all your pieces perfect. How many pieces would you need to make for a cube?
6.
You need 6. Good job. Okay. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and designate this square as my base. And I'm just going to be attaching 2 pieces on there for right now. You guys will get the gist as we're going along. Most difficult piece to get on, well, no, you'll be okay. I was going to say the top, but you'll be fine. Okay, so the other tricky part about the cube, the slab, so this is my base, and I can scratch it here on the top, but everywhere else where I'm going to attach, it's going to be on these really small sides here, these edges. Okay, so I've got that scored. Next thing I do is what? Slip. Okay, so I got my slip on there. Now I'm gonna kind of line up and I'm gonna wiggle. And there we go. Okay, that side's on. Okay. Now, to make your connections better, you could bevel these sides, which means cutting these kind of at an angle, because you will kind of notice complications if you put them straight side by side, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna score 2 edges here because I'm connecting it in 2 spots. And I'm also going to come in and score this side from this piece that I already have on there. Going to slip. And then I'm going to connect. Okay. Again, remember when you're connecting things, and I'll kind of flip this around so you can see it from this side too. Okay, so the thing you've got to be careful about is when these are, the best way to do slab work is if you cut the slab and let it get leather hard, because sometimes it can't support itself when it's wet. I'm doing not too bad on here. Okay, so I've got my base and my 2 sides up. Now I'm going to be finishing it up via like kind of cleaning it up, and how you make these connection points really nice and strong. We're going to use those connection coils. So this is me showing you where you need to put all those connection coils as you're making your cube. So you're going to put them on the inside, just like that. Okay, so I got 1 and 2. Then I've got a 3. So it should look like that. Okay. Then, carefully on the outside without warping it too much, I'm going to put those coils on the outside as well. And these can be pretty thin. They don't have to be big, huge, thick ones. You want to use thick ones for when you're actually building. For these connection ones, they can be thin. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 on the outside. Just like I did on the inside. Like this. Okay, and then you can start using your scraper, and your scraper even has a flat side to it. Okay. So your scraper will be good to use for smoothing on the outside of your cube. On the inside, you may have to use like a metal modeling tool or your fingers. Okay, so on your cube, I'm looking for really sharp angles, really sharp edges and corners. And I'm looking for nice straight sides. On your sphere, I'm looking for like perfect roundness all the way around. On your cylinder, I'm looking for flat top and bottom, straight sides, and really crisp edges at the top and bottom. And then I'm looking for your size requirement too. Okay, so does everybody understand like what I'm looking for grade-wise for those? Yeah? Okay. Okay, and then down here in the corner, I'll have to just kind of use my fingers to smooth out. Thanks. Okay. All right, so we've got our sphere using our pinch pot method. We've got the start of our cylinder here using the coil method. And we've got the start of our cube here using the slab method. Now's the time for anybody to ask questions on anything or to have me re-demonstrate any part. What do you got, Wertz? Yes, I can do that in a second. Anybody else have overall negatory? Okay. All right. So this concludes demonstration number 2.